Hey guys, how's it going? Laura with Garden Answers. So I wanted to give you a little bit of an update tonight on our Versailles garden and how the progress is going. And I also wanted to talk to you a little bit about what mulches I use. There's been a ton of questions because I have used kind of 4 different things in the past as mulch, and only one of them is actually labeled mulch. So I thought I would go through all 4 of those and why I use them. So right now, this is what Versailles is looking like. We've got all of the boxwoods in, which I think I already showed you that part, but since we got the boxwoods in, we've had landscape fabric laid on both sides. We put drip tubing down and then mulch on top, or what I call mulch. And it's looking super nice right now. It's not quite done. There was a lot of perennials back in here that were completely covered with bindweed, so we actually had those removed. All of them removed so that I could just start fresh with some fresh perennials, and I'm gonna leave this area kind of blank for a little while to let the bindweed grow back up so I can get it sprayed out. Otherwise, if I went straight in and planted new stuff, that weed would take right back over and then I wouldn't be able to spray because I don't spray around my broadleaf plants. So anyway, just wanted to give you an update on how that looked, and then I want to show you a couple of the things. So these are 2 of the things that I use probably most often as mulch. You probably recognize this bag because I've used it a ton. It is actually a planting compost, not a typical mulch. The reason why I like to use this is because it's full of really good stuff. And most of the time I'm mulching right on top of soil. So I feel like if I use something that's full of good stuff, it'll eventually work its way down into our soil, which is good for everything. It's good to condition the soil, good for the plants. I really like the way it looks too. Let me show you. So see that right there? It's not like a soil, it's like a super fine bark. And I think it's got a really pretty color to it. And then this one right here is pretty much the same thing. It's the same brand. This is Gardener and Bloom soil building conditioner. Has a lot of the same things as this right here. It's in a compressed bale, so this one actually spreads a lot further than these bags do, so it's a better deal, like financially, if you've got a huge area to use something like this. That's what we used here. You can see the difference. This one is definitely more barky. So it does still have a mulch kind of appearance without being too like big of wood chips. I really love the color of it. I think it makes everything look super sharp. These ones are not as easy to carry around. So when I use these, Aaron most of the time carries them around for me because they are heavy. They fit a lot into this bale. These ones I can carry around by myself. The other thing you may have seen me use in the past is a Whitney Farms planting compost. Let me show you where we've used that. So this is the Whitney Farms compost. It's a lot darker in color when it initially goes down, but it actually does dry to a pretty light brown color. We had actually a little bit of a rainstorm come through and some wind, so I've got some junk in here I need to rake out. I don't really love this one as much. I mean, I'll use it if that's what I have on hand, but I like a little bit more of a barky appearance to my mulch. It looks a little bit more finished to me, but again, the Whitney Farms planting compost is full of a lot of goodies, which I think are good for the soil. And then the 4th thing I've used is like just a straight up brown mulch, and I'll show you where we use that. So this is the brown mulch, and we're out here where we planted the great big hedge of arborvitaes. And you guys, I absolutely love this one. I think it's really beautiful. It's really inexpensive. It came from Home Depot. And the reason why I used it out here is because there's actually landscape fabric laid under these arborvitaes. I don't typically use landscape fabric kind of as a rule because I like to have the soil open. I like to be able to plant things, but this is a permanent hedge. And this will get 5 feet wide. So I used a 5-foot section of landscape fabric. These are planted right in the center. And I just thought for weed suppression, so I didn't have to use spray or constantly have to be out here pulling weeds, that landscape fabric was a good option. And because the mulch isn't working its way down into the soil, it's just gonna sit on top of that fabric. I thought, you know what? I think it's better just to use something that's less expensive, but still pretty. So that's why I use this one out here. So this is another area that we've planted with boxwoods, and you can kind of see, I just wanted you guys to get a visual of what it looks like underneath all the areas that we've showed you already. We haven't got to the drip or the mulch on this section yet, but you can see my landscape fabric. There's a 3-foot section of it. I just don't want to be battling weeds or having to spray bindweed out of areas like this. I want them to be healthy and safe from anything like that. And then this section right in front, I'm going to be redefining the grass and then planting in front of this whole area. So this is an area I will be putting drip tubing down first, and then I'll be using the soil building conditioner. So this is kind of the same as the Versailles garden. The reason why I don't use brown mulch is because I want the same mulch to be here and then throughout the rest of the bed. I don't want brown mulch just sitting on this and then soil building conditioner and have 2 different colors. So there were a couple questions about why I put drip tubing on top of the fabric instead of under it. And it's because I don't ever want to have to lift this fabric up ever again. Drip tubing, sometimes it gets cuts in it, or like the emitters will get plugged and you have to replace it. We have really hard water here, so I use the drip tubing that has the holes every 18 inches, and those will get plugged every few years. You have to pull up your drip tubing and start over. I don't want to have to pull up fabric and replace it that way, or try to troubleshoot when they've got a layer of compost and then a layer of fabric. So we lay it right on the top, and this fabric, you guys, is fantastic. Most fabrics are kind of built this way. It's fuzzy on the bottom and kind of slick on the top, and the water is absorbed through. So the drip tubing will run about right here. The water will it comes out so slowly that a lot of times it won't even pool. It'll just slowly leak through the fabric and get right to the root system. So that's the reason why we do it that way. So we're back in the Versailles garden, and there's one more area I wanted to show you. So right in this far corner here, this whole area was all gravelled. So we removed all the gravel. I shouldn't say we removed it. Some young guys came over here and helped us, and they moved it out for us. And we had some soil brought in, and I'm gonna plant this whole area. I'm so excited because when we did the boxwoods, we redefined the edges of the whole Versailles garden. The hedges before were not balanced, they were not equal. And I feel like in this formal of a setting, they need to be the same on each side. So we painstakingly measured out every single boxwood and where the placement needed to be for the arches on either side, and they match perfectly. So this area got cut out. This was already here, of course. It actually spanned all the way, this boxwood hedge, spanned all the way to about the light over there, but there was actually a bunch of damage in that portion of the hedge, so it worked out perfect. We had it removed up to this point here, fresh ones brought to the fence, and we'll just kind of have this nice kind of triangle in this area. It's gonna be so perfect. And I'm thinking of doing 3 really neat like beech trees, like 3 red, like River Swans Beach, or like a red obelisk beech, or something really cool right in this area. This is where we drive in. This is where our driveway enters our property. So to have something that looks really cool in here, I'm excited about planting this up. And the last question that I saw asked a few times was why I don't use bulk mulch instead of using bags in this size of a property. And the reason is totally personal. I know it's cheaper to buy bulk mulch, but it's a pain in the butt. I don't want to get a big load of mulch put in the back of the truck and then have to shovel it into a wheelbarrow and then bring it out and shovel it out of the wheelbarrow into the flower beds. It's so much easier for me just to be able to pick up a bag, go right to where I need to put it, and just shake out what I need and then take off. I just prefer doing it that way. It goes a lot faster. It's not quite as cost effective, but it saves me a ton of time, which I think is more worth it. So that's totally personal preference. If I had a much more open garden that was easier to access from, different angles, it would probably be easier to use, but we have a lot of really deep flower beds, really hard to get a wheelbarrow from the front of it to the back of it, so bags just is easier. So that's pretty much it, you guys. I hope that this video helped eliminate maybe any confusion you might have had of what I use and why I use it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.